Afternoon, Dare to Lead Differently Summit. I'm Brigadier General Twanda E. Young, visionary of this summit, and I'm excited to be able to give you what I would call a gift in sharing time with a friend of mine that God has blessed me to connect with. Jamie Miller. Let me tell you, this individual, well, I'm gonna let you meet him and then you can make your own decision. But I'm telling you, I know that you're going to love him. He does and talks about the art of intentional communication, which is so extremely important. I want to give you a little bit of his background, and then we're going to jump into our conversation about how to become a better communicator. Here we go. So, Jamie, often referred to as the wizard of communication, has spent over 20 years studying the psychology of people and professional interactions. He is a specialist in human to human influence, helping professionals in high stakes industries like real estate, finance, law find their message to build trust. Keyword, build trust and close deals. So I want to introduce to you my friend, Mr. Jamie Miller. How are we doing there, buddy?
Oh, fantastic, Tia. Thank you so much for having me on here.
Nah, thank you for coming on. Tell us a little bit. I read a little bit about you, but you're just a down home good person. So tell us a little bit more to kind of help us peek behind the veil of who Jamie Miller is.
Okay, so what's interesting when anyone says like tell you about yourself, and you've obviously introduced me as being intentional with communication, correct, to
Yes.
the audience. Now, as the audience watches this, what most people in the world are going to do at this point is they're going to just start telling people in your audience everything about themselves because you've said, hey, tell the audience a bit about yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's make it intentional where I can now utilize a conscious communication play. Because if I just start telling people everything about myself, all right, here's what I'm doing. I'm basically crossing my fingers and hoping and praying that whatever I share resonates with the audience. Whereas if I say, hey, look, Tia, we met at a lovely event in Atlanta, and I was to share, look, if I was to ask you to share, rather than what you've read about me, what do you think that I did, said during that time when we were actually with each other that would be a gift indeed, for your audience? What
So
were some of the things that came to your mind?
I can do that. And I asked you that question because if you recalled our conversation, that was one of the questions that kind of keyed us off in our conversation. Do you recall that?
I always record. That's why, look, when it's the same for the people in the audience when they're watching. If someone says at a job interview, tell me about yourself, it's not going to be a good intentional play to start talking about yourself. It's actually a better reflection just to throw out a question subtly, very quickly, and just gather some like, hey Tia, would your audience like to know about my professional existence, or would they like to know more about like Jamie as a person and personal scenarios? And now I get to share with the audience, things that matter to them in your mind. So yes, yeah, I do remember that I probably did exactly the same
You did. You
thing.
did. So I'm trying to help my audience understand the
Right.
expertise you bring to the table. So
Yeah.
let me tell you, audience, here's what happened and how I got to meet Jamie. We're at this particular event and a room full of people, and we're all in white, and the music is going, and everybody's chitter chattering to each other, and Jamie is standing there just observing. And I looked at him initially and I said, wonder what he's thinking about. And this particular event happened to have a lot of African Americans to it, and Jamie was standing there very brightly shining in that group of individuals. And I said, I'm going over to talk to it. And I walked over, introduced myself, and I started out with, tell me a little bit about yourself. And from there, the rest is history. We have been, or I put it this way, I've been connected to his hip ever since, kind of thing of building our relationship. So does that kind of give a
Oh,
synopsis of how we met?
absolutely. And then, I would just throw out to the audience. how many of you absolutely and rightfully so love Tia, all right, and could understand that if Tia is inviting you to speak at an event, you'd want to be a great reflection of her. And if you trust in Tia, then obviously being present in June when I'm speaking and teaching everything that I possibly can with abundance. All right, that's the question I would have for the audience. Is has based on what Tia just shared, has that resonated for you guys? And then the hope would be they're saying yes right now as a lesson. It was a glorious event, Tia. I definitely it was one that the universe definitely aligned with. I'm doing things right in the universe
Yeah.
to thankfully been invited to speak there. So and definitely even more so meet you.
Yeah,
So
well,
that's
the beauty of what I enjoyed about our interaction in our first meeting was from that, if you recall, you came down to the session, the vending area, right? And I introduced you to a couple of people, and we ended up having what I call a seat at the table round robin discussion. You recall that?
that was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I would like to say, and I don't know if I'm giving her the correct. No, she went by Stephanie there. I
Stephanie,
think
Dr. Stephanie Walls.
okay, and that's why I just said I don't know if I'm getting this wrong. However, I don't think she introduced herself with the doctor part. I just come later to find out, and so that I do recollect that conversation, and it was definitely a very fun, impactful one for sure. Yes,
So, out of that conversation, we were talking about things about communication. You were sharing some nuggets and wisdoms from your foxhole and toolkit to help us grow in our communication. If you were to have that kind of conversation with, just say, a group of people you met at a coffee shop, talking about, and they ask you, so Jamie, tell me at least one or two things that you readily say, here's something you can work on immediately that's going to show you a difference in how you communicate.
perfect. So one of the things, so everyone likes things in threes. So I'll just share that uh, in order to have better conversations with people, and if you're meeting someone for the first time, especially, the first thing that we will want to do is we want to gather information. And what that basically means is we've got to ask questions. All right. If we're the ones doing all the talking, we don't actually know whether or not, what we're sharing is going to help us. So, first thing is gathering information. The second thing is what I call garnering understanding. It's a very important part of a conversation whereby you'll get people in front of you feeling like, I don't know why this person seems to get me a lot more than other people. All right. And then the third thing is what I like to call predictability. And that basically means this: if any of the audience who watches this is feeling like they've ever brought on a headache client, for example, I'm here to share that's on them because I don't bring on headache clients. The reason you and I are aligned is because if you weren't the person that you were, I just wouldn't be on here today, Tia. All right. And that basically means predictability means how is someone responding to the questions that we're asking them? Like, are they, okay with you being you and me being me? All right. And we intuitively we know stuff when we meet with people. Yet we've got to make it question based. It's not sufficient enough to just be like, this is who I am and this is what you have to put up with.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about so I'll give you an example. They might be like, who is this white man in a baseball hat looking kind of disheveled, with you right now? Now, rather than me just say, hey guys, like it or lump it, which is a statement, I would be like, hey everyone, do you guys care more about appearance or do you care more about the value of the content of what someone's going to teach you? And look at your body language. Just when I just said value of content, your head's nodding. That shows me in predictability we are aligned, as an example. Now, the garnering of understanding, here's no one will care if we go up to someone. I just wanted to meet with you, as a lesson for everyone. If I go up to someone, go, I just wanted to meet with you, in psychology and communication, is there any emphasis on the other person? in that interaction? There isn't, because I'm saying I want. Tia,
Hmm.
you said you've got daughters, 31, 32. All right.
Yes, two
Okay.
heartbeats.
Okay. When they were kids and they go, Mum, I want. All right. Did you ever say no to them? And you probably did. Like if
I
they
did
said,
many times,
okay.
especially
So,
going into stores where I said, "Don't touch anything."
right. So, so perfect. But here's the lesson. What if we're not giving our own flesh and blood what they want when they say I want? Hopefully your audience can align. If you're saying I want to a complete stranger, they really won't care. So in terms of a lesson and how to ask a question that garners understanding, I simply would, and you, here's the good news for everyone: you don't need a British accent, all right, and you
You
don't have to
sure?
say
Because
you.
yours quite, it's pretty nice, and it kind of pulls me in, kind of thing.
Oh, listen, I think here's the great news. I think we're all given miscellaneous ingredients that are amazing to embrace for ourselves. Yes, I live in the US. I have a British accent, and I've kept it. It does indeed, supposedly make me sound intelligent, and I get that. And so evidently, I've kept the accent. However, in terms of the framework, can everyone in the world, anyone watching does not have a British accent, could they turn around to someone and start with a question of, hey, has this ever happened for you? All right. And so, because you said coffee shop, I'll give you an example. If I was to approach someone in a coffee shop cold,
Mhm.
I would consciously, intentionally start with the words, a question. Hey, curious, has this ever happened for you? Have you ever gone to a random coffee shop? You haven't been to it before, and you end up having an interaction with someone who's a complete stranger, and it ends up being actually a really nice interaction. Does that sound kind of nice when those things happen? And the person in front of you is going to go, yeah, that does sound kind of
Mm,
nice.
yeah.
What I'm not doing is going up to them, hey, I just wanted to come and introduce you, in myself to you, and encroach on your space, and I want to tell you what I do for a living. It's not going to have the same effect. Now, hopefully, people can associate the same verbiage can happen with a phone call. Hey, look, we haven't had the privilege of speaking. Have you ever had a call with someone whereby you'd not spoken to them before and it ended up being a really great phone call? It's nice, kind of nice when that happens, right? And then the person on the other end of the phone goes, yes. And then at that point, because you've garnered understanding, you've prefaced with
Mhm.
the right question, the other important component is this: when you want something in life, you have to get the other person to want it first. All right, I'll let that sink in. Whatever you do is always get the other person to get what they want first in order for you to get what
So it's
you
serving.
want.
It's serving.
It's always serving. I don't know if you do this with Tracy, Tia, and I feel for him if you do. Women are better salespeople than men. And I study psychology. You said, Jamie, you're very like studious of the room. Like I study every interaction I ever have in terms of body language, in terms of what is being said, the tone of which it's being said. And for any women who are listening into this right now, if you do this to your husbands, I feel for them. All right, because it's a predictable, it always gets the same response.
And
My
we're saying, give it to us, give it to us, give it to us.
Well, if you've ever said these words to Tracy, this question, Tracy, honey, how much do you love me right now? That is a question. And the response all the time from a Tracy or from a me is going to be like, what do you want? All right. And then the follow up is, oh, would you just be a darling, go to the store and pick up XYZ? And then we're like, okay. And it can be any time of day. And that is going to be the outcome from that. Now,
That's the predictability.
right. So I'll give you an example of how I get upgrades on aeroplanes. All right. Using the same psychology. I don't turn around to ticketing agents and go, how much do you love me right now? But here's an example of how I get them to get what they want first. I approach them and I say, hey, I couldn't help yet notice as you were checking people in before me approaching you, but you just look like you just got the biggest kick out putting a massive smile on everyone's faces when they checked in with you. Am I right? And then here's what they say with predictability. Oh, I love to do that. What can I do for you? And then I say, oh, I'm so glad you just asked that. I or we would just really appreciate whatever you could do to put us towards the front in the best possible seat. And then they say, let me see what I can do. Now, watch this. Amateur would go up and say, excuse me, is there any chance of an upgrade? It is a
Mhm.
question,
That's
but
that's the norm.
but if you ask a question, is there any chance of an upgrade? They could say yes to you. They could also say no.
Yes.
When you go up to someone in customer service and say, hey, you just look like you love making everyone happy when they check in with you, am I correct? Think about, what does a good customer service person want to do? They want to make the customers happy. I'm just proactively bringing that to the attention. And it's a psychology play in communication when you're, whatever the interactions are that you're having, all right, it sets up the rest of the conversation. And again, I can't do justice in terms of all the time today, Tia. Yeah, I can share anyone who's around me on the 26th or 27th. I will absolutely, with abundance, be in having seat at the table conversations where I get to
Yeah.
share these
Yeah.
kind of things and why they work.
So tell me this.
Go ahead.
Is it the differentiation of what I hear is asking a closed-ended question versus an open-ended question?
No, I wouldn't say, I don't structure my life based on an exact script here. It's a case of you go into an interaction with an outcome in mind before the interaction takes place.
Okay.
And and every interaction you typically want to go into it with the words I agree with you before the conversation gets started. If you can say the words I agree with you at the end of your conversation, you basically made whatever you're wanting, your idea, their idea. All right. So it's not all about a closed-ended question of just getting yeses or what have you. That would be a very forced scenario. And typically the person will be like, I know what you're doing. Like I'll
Hmm.
give you an example. With my daughter, uh, whether it's unfortunate or fortunate for me, she knows what I'm doing when I'm doing it now. So if I just go and start asking Ruby questions, she's going to say, Dad, I know what you're doing. That's not a positive. Okay. So I
You
have to
trained her well.
well, I have to start the conversation. Ruby, what do you think I'm going to do right now? She's like, you're going to ask me questions. I'm like, great. All right. Like, so now I've set up what's going to take place. I'm like, let's just play pretend that you want to have the conversation. Hey, I'm just curious. Is it a really good thing or a really bad thing to be on your device too much? Now she says it's bad. When I go, well, why is it bad? Just so you know, it's open ended. Why is it bad? I'm now looking for her to go off on a really long tangent, Tia,
Mhm.
because I'm not going to make it logical. All right. And she will go off on this tangent like, oh, like it's bad because I'll end up with no friends and no social life, like a hermit in a room all alone. And then I'll elevate emotion even more, which is important by saying, well, how would that feel in life, Ruby? She goes, oh, Daddy, it would be absolutely like awful. And then I might even say, well, awful, elaborate on that for me. And now she's telling me how awful it would be. And then I would go, well, then, Princess, what's your thoughts? She goes, I think I should be on my phone a lot less. And I'll go, I agree with you. All right. Meaning I've made it her idea because here's the deal. Everyone should know this. My daughter doesn't want to be told, get off your device. It's going to do this for you if you do this. The more sophisticated approach is getting your client, your kids, your husbands, to your wives, for the men who are watching this. You've got to make it question based, all right, and it will give you more what I call peace in life. So I don't know if there's necessarily a focus on an open ended or close ended. It's reading the situation when you're physically there,
Okay.
reading the body language, and having your gut intuition that we're not looking to develop robots. A lot of the world is looking to develop robots with a script and make it a numbers game. I would I would rather for my clients they focus on the caliber and quality of the conversation when they actually have the person in front of them. Because if we're scripted or robotic or trusting in AI to do some heavy lifting for us, I think that we're missing such the key ingredients of human interaction. All right.
Great.
So
Oh, you had me say it. I agree. So we just gave them an example without even knowing it, right? So that's good stuff.
correct,
This
correct.
is the kind of stuff you're going to get at the summit. Real conversations, real information that can help you grow, and that's really the essence of why I'm putting the summit on, is to be able to help give value to people and bring people that I know have that same mind, that alignment, and want to help people. If people want to get in contact with you, to either just talk a little bit more to you, see what you have, where you're going to be, where you're going to be speaking, what you're going to be doing, how do they get in contact with you?
I'm hoping this comes across as a class act, all right? Because people always remember leaving the way we leave them feeling, right? From
Hmm.
that standpoint. So rather than me leaving any feeling of, oh, go to this website or anything of this nature, I think the whole world gets programmed that we're meant to do that, right? And
Okay.
bear with me. I just want to make sure I end it. Okay. Can you hear me? Because I had a call come through at the same time. So
No, we
I'm
can
just,
hear you.
okay, good. All right. So rather than leave people feeling like transactional or anything of that nature, or feeling like they have to have this big social media presence, Tia, and to keep it very personable, for anyone who's watched this or anyone who knows Tia that and you feel compelled to want to reach out to me, all right, and get any advice or that's between now and June 26th, 27th, or on March when I'm doing the
Seat at the table.
see at the table. Tia, I trust in you so much that anyone who you love, who loves you, if they reach out to you and say, "Hey, I would really like to get in touch with this guy, Jamie," then I would be absolutely honored and grateful. You can share with them my cell number. You can share anything that you feel see fit at that time to share with them. And as long as they reach out to me and say, "Hey, I got introduced to you by you," I know it's going to be the most warmest, amazing call, and I get to be a reflection on you with helping them with abundance. All right, how does that sound?
That sounds amazing.
There you
That
go.
sounds amazing. And that is why I am so tremendously excited about people getting to experience being in the space with you, and learning from you. This is going to be, I'm looking forward to learning and growing, right? We do these things, do different events and things, and people might think, well, you do these events just to make money. And money is a part of it. Don't get it wrong. In order to put it on, that there is a monetary requirement. But looking at the impact of what we do, of sharing and serving others to be able to help them grow and do things differently. Ergo, the dare to lead differently. Do something different that's going to give you a better result, that's going to help you in the long run to build your legacy, to build that, continue that impact, is why we're doing this event. And I am just honored and thankful to God for you being a part of these memories.
Well, uh, I am honored and extremely thankful to be invited to do it, Tia. I believe nothing happens by accident, and I'm very grateful to the universe. Our paths are crossed, and for anyone who's watched this who's like, I like what that guy just shared, you'll definitely want to be at the event in person on 27th, because I will be there all day long, before I talk, after I talk, and I will share whatever wisdom I can whilst I'm there for sure.
Appreciate you. Well,
Cheers.
everyone, this is Dare to Lead Differently Summit headline interview with the Wizard of Communication, Mr. Jamie Miller himself. We look to share more with you as the time comes toward the summit. But as I always share, start strong, end stronger. And how we do that is continuing to grow and increase our knowledge. Take care.
Fantastic.